one is very delighted and happy to be here in Oslo. Oslo reminds us about the solidarity of these people of this nation and how they stood firmly with the people of Sudan. It is here we came with Dr. Biong, and later on also we came with Al Osman to mobilize the international community to support the post-reconstruction of Sudan. So I would like really to extend my gratitude and appreciation to the people and the government of Norway. And it's very important also for one to also to echo our appreciation also during the difficult times for the Norwegian organization that stood firmly with the people of Southern Sudan and people of other, of the New Sudan, especially NPA. This is an organization really managed to reflect and to represent you in the most difficult times in Southern Sudan. We come to know Norway through them, but important also one should not forget also the NCA, because this is also an organization that started even during the first civil war, started doing a lot of work. But also we should be grateful also having personalities like Hilda Johnson, who contributed massively during our negotiation in Naivasha. So you are great people, and one is so grateful for you, for what you are doing. And I would like also to thank the Norwegian Peacebuilding Center for inviting us for this. I have a very difficult task to do because I would wish to have my colleagues with me. But I will try to be very objective in order to give you the perspective of the Sudanese. Not a perspective of the SPLM, but perspective of the Sudanese. I came the day before yesterday from Addis Ababa discussing the two parties, discussing the issue of Aguirre, but we went also to discuss some strategic issues. But I thought I should come here to update you about our own perspective. It is very important that the Sudanese perspective should be the one to feed the rest. I think there's a lot of writing these days about Sudan, about scenarios. But the scenarios will be well presented by the Sudanese. I have a strong belief that the Sudanese willingness and commitment will eventually manage to unfold and manage the situation in Sudan. But it is true, it is a big concern, because Sudan is getting to a very difficult period of time that actually could trigger concern of international community. And you are right that you should be very concerned about what is happening in Sudan. But I believe also you are very committed in order to support the capacity of the Sudanese people to find the solutions. But let me start with the CPA generally, so because I know I'm starting with the assumption that all of you who are here, committed people to the Sudan, you are aware about the ABC of Sudan. I think when you talk about the war and the damages happened during the civil war, it is critical that we should appreciate the two parties, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement and the National Congress Party. These are the parties that managed to have a courage to go for the option of peace, because that's the choice of the people of Sudan. And this came as a result of a very high cost politically. These are the two parties having a different ways of looking at issues. National Congress Party with Islamic agenda, and SPLM with a new Sudan agenda that is to reform Sudan on a secular basis. A very, very different ideologies. But yet they decided to agree. And I think that's very important, unique. Some of us were when we were a student in the University of Khartoum, you could not imagine one day we could be having a government together with NCP. But this is the reality, because that is a big step. And I think what the CPA managed to provide, because of these divergent views of ideology, we managed to agree for the sake of peace. I think we could not make it as SPLM to stop the Islamic agenda, nor did they manage also to prevail on us in the South, I mean with our new agenda of the New Sudan. And that's why CPA is a middle road, a win-win situation for the all Sudanese. And I think if one could assess what is the status of implementation qualitatively, I could say there's now a relative peace in Sudan, although Darfur is there. But generally one could say there's a relative peace. But even if you go to in terms of the economic growth and the opportunities that prevail themselves after the peace, there's a remarkable economic growth in Sudan. Almost a growth of 2 digits, but even combating inflation to a reasonable level. And this is because of the peace. Even our recent report on the MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, indicated clearly some improvement in our targeting the MDGs, although we may not be able to get that one, but I think it's very important to know. I did some research during the war about the level of poverty in Southern Sudan, and recently there's a report that was conducted by the Center for Census and Statistics, which indicating that the level of poverty is about 54 in the south, and I think about 46 in the northern Sudan, although people may differ and, about the level of poverty. But indeed, there's a much progress happening in the Sudan. I think even in terms of freedom, Sudan is not the same. The National Congress Party and the Islamic movement was so vigilant about the issue of the basic rights because they were fighting war. But today, at least if you see the newspaper in Sudan, you could clearly say that things are changing. Sudan is not the same. As mentioned by our president, Sudan is not the same. It's changing every day. It's changing for better, despite the agony in Darfur. Even for us, when we talk about elections, I know there could be a lot of discussion about the elections. But one of the things that we agreed in the CPA is a democratic transformation in Sudan. Because the dominance of one party is not the way forward. We know that democracy has a lot of things in Africa. But at least whatever form of election we started, I think that's the beginning of a change, a democratic change. We may differ. And even for some of us, we entered into these elections because we want to learn from these elections of how we can conduct the referendum in a free and fair environment. I know there are concerns about these elections, but at least this is the first step for us to reform Sudan in terms of getting into a democratic process in the Sudan. Now, these are some of the qualitative success, one could say. But I think important also to look at some of the political targets of the CPA. For the people of Southern Sudan, the whole issue of right of self-determination, for them to have a say in building this nation, has been a big issue since the independence. And for the people of Southern Sudan, the biggest achievement is for them to have a chance to express their views, whether they would like to be in one Sudan or to have their own country. And this one has been achieved, the biggest achievement, political achievement, for the people of Southern Sudan. Equal for the people of ABA. They are now going to have a choice to see whether they are going to be in the north or to be in the south. And I think ABA, one could say this is where the war started, and the CPA managed to address that concern. The two states, the Nuba Mountain and Southern Blue Nile, they managed to get what is called popular consultation, although it is less than what they expected. They were expecting the right of self-determination. But even for the rest of the marginalized Sudan, the whole of the devolution of powers and decentralization is the center. This is what we enshrine in the agreement, so that we can devolve the powers to the lower level of the government, so to be near to the people. But I think the most important thing, even we managed to define the image of Sudan. Sudan, which used to be defined in the context of Islam and Arabism, is now defined in the context of diversity as a virtue for the nation. Although we are struggling, I mean, I'm not saying, still struggling. The Islamic agenda and Arab agenda is still there, but still there's a room now that one is being contested, the identity around Islam and Arabism. Now, this is about some of the very important aspects of the CPA. But let me summarize the challenges around the referendum as a key issue now. I think when we talk about the referendum, it is very important for people to see, for the people of Southern Sudan, it's so central. And that's why you might have been hearing about people talking about the timing of this referendum. For the people of Southern Sudan, this is any delay in the conduct of the referendum, despite the difficulties, will be misread, and it could tantamount to very far consequences that we would like to avoid. I'm happy I attended yesterday the speech of the president to the parliament, laying out the program of the government, and he reiterated his commitment to respect the timing and the outcome of the referendum. And that's very, very assuring. But that's one side of the challenge. to what level are we going to respect the choice of the people of Southern Sudan? For us to do that one, we have to have an independent commission. The commission has been formed now. It's one thing to form the commission. It is another thing to let the commission to be an independent to take its own decision. It is this commission that's going to announce, it's not the process of registration and voting, but also to announce the results of the referendum. And it is critical that this commission must be independent. And for it to be independent, they need the resources, and they need even technical assistance. It is good the international community has scaled up its support now to this commission, but a lot is desired for this commission to be independent, because any obstruction to the work of the commission will actually dilute the choice of the people of Southern Sudan. And that's why we have been very keen to ensure that this commission is working effectively and efficiently. There's an issue that is still pending, the North-South border. We know for sure that the issue of border, and from the countries that emerge out from the similar exercise, border tends to be one of the key problems that could immediately, after the referendum or after the independence, there could be a problem. We know the case of Eritrea and Ethiopia. We know even East Timor and Indonesia, and we know the Kashmir between Pakistan and India. It is our commitment that we want to make sure that the border issue to be resolved. The good news is that we have at least 80% of the border, it's about 2,000 kilometers of border, that we need to, about 80% people agreed in terms of delimitation, in terms of defining it on the map. We are differing in 5 or 6 areas, and in this meeting in Addis, there's a commitment by the two parties. We have to resolve the outstanding issues. We agreed also, even if we fail to agree, those ones should not take us to the war. We can go to the international arbitration, like what we did in Aguirre, and it should not be a reason really for us to go to the war. Yet there's a feeling in the North, and especially in the National Congress Party, that they want to link the issue of border to the referendum. And we are very clear on this issue, because the referendum has nothing to do with the border. A border demarcation is a commitment like any other provision in the CPA. But it is true, we are better off to resolve the issue of border before we go for the referendum. I think one of the biggest challenges facing the CPA, the referendum, is the unity and secession. Because these are the choices that are going to be expressed by the people of Southern Sudan. What is very apparent now is that the northern political elites and the whole of Northern Sudan is mobilizing itself for the unity of Sudan. It is true we agreed as two parties to make a unity attractive to the people of Southern Sudan. And we say this when in July 2002, that's when we signed the Machakos Agreement. From that time up to now, we would have done a lot to make the unity attractive. It is true, even we in the SPLM, we are committed for a unity on a new basis, because our target is the marginalized people of Sudan. The problem for us, especially in the SPLM, after the peace agreement, we have been fighting to quell down the fire we believe being triggered from the North. So we did not focus even in order to change and to send a message to the people of Southern Sudan. But what is happening now, there's a very scaling up of the efforts in the North for the unity at any cost. And it seems as if they have drummed up this song of unity, in a way even diluting the very meaning of the unity. It is true, it is our choice that we have to go for unity. But the way it's being played, we are fearing that it could be also a process that, as if, just to give you some of the insight of how people feel, as if you don't vote for unity, you are actually as if it is a crime of the nation in the North. And we are saying to them, look, the options available to the people of Southern Sudan is unity and secession. So what I'm saying, the challenge is that polarization and mobilization of the North for a unity that is going to be decided by the people of Southern Sudan. And this is a paradox. And failing to do that one, and I will talk about the consequences, especially for the IDPs who are in Northern Sudan. So you have a chance that the this mobilization could be used against the will of the people. But there's no doubt we are for the unity on a new basis. It is true also in Southern Sudan. The more the North talk about the unity, the more South talking about separation. To the level that people could be victimized also. For you, for a Southerner, you are for the unity, you'll be seen actually as an enemy of the people. And this is a real challenge for these two parts of the Sudan, of how can we ensure the people to express their views in a free and fair environment. And because of those concerns, we, the National Congress Party and the SPLM, we have asked the United Nations to come with a monitoring mission to ensure our confidence in the conduct of the referendum and to ensure that the referendum shall be free and fair. We know that some circles, even in Sudan, trying to look for a justification to say when the referendum is conducted, to say actually this process is not free and fair. And we want to avoid that one. And we are so delighted that the United Nations has managed to avail a mission to monitor the conduct of the referendum. The former president of Tanzania is going to head this mission of monitoring the year. And we hope that mission, the United Mission, beside also all the other countries that witness the CPA, to also be monitoring this exercise. I believe this country is involved in this. Another issue is there's another referendum, and that's ABA. ABA referendum, it is one of the provisions that we put that a referendum of ABA shall be conducted simultaneously on the same day, on the 9th, with the Southern Sudan referendum. I came from Addis, and we differed. The National Congress Party and the SPLM. And we differed on a very fundamental issue. We agreed that the area is for the Dinka Ngok. We differed even about the definition of this area called ABA. We went to the Permanent Court of Arbitration, and a word was issued by that court defining the area as the area of the 9 Ngok Dinka chiefs. Now, we agreed with the National Congress Party on the referendum law for ABA. And we said those who will be eligible to vote will be the Ngok Dinka, members of the Ngok Dinka, and other Sudanese residing in the area. And mind you, when we define ABA area, there are nomads, we call Mycenaeans. Now, the National Congress Party, and to a certain degree, even some of the people assisting us, they are saying the Mycenaeans, the nomads, should have the right to vote in ABA area. And we said, look, this is not consistent with the law. It's not even consistent with the arbitration. So there's a very clear case of trying to dilute the choice of the people of ABA. And we express our concern about this one. So that one is an issue. If it is not resolved, it's going to create a problem because you cannot conduct the referendum of Southern Sudan without ABA referendum. But the good news is that the two parties are willing to discuss what should be the mechanism of resolving the ABA issue. Because what happened in ABA is that in 1905, because of a slave trade and slavery between the Mycenaeans, the very Mycenaean Arabs, attacking the Dinka, the colonial administration decided to transfer this area called ABA to Northern Sudan in order to administer them under one administration. And there's a feeling now that if it was an administrative decision and you have defined this area, then it is possible this area to be returned back to Southern Sudan through a presidential decree. But still we are discussing. But it's a big challenge facing us. Definitely we have issue of Darfur, which is a big issue. For us, if the real danger is that if the Southern Sudan is going to secede and Darfur is not resolved, I think you can imagine what is going to happen to the remaining Sudan. And that's why we believe solving the issue of Darfur before referendum could help a lot in building peace and stability in Sudan. Now, because of these concerns and the challenges, we, the two parties, we agreed in the law to discuss post-referendum issues. And the idea of the post-referendum issues is to have a peaceful exercise of the right of self-determination, but even the choice of the people of Southern Sudan should not disrupt the peace and stability in Sudan. And whether those post-referendum issues should build the relationship between the North and the South. I'm saying this one because we don't want the choice of the people of Southern Sudan, whether it is separation, to lead to war. No, the choice of the people of Southern Sudan, if it is unity, it should not lead to war. Because the choice of the people of Sudan, they want peace and stability. And that's why the post-referendum issues is actually basically targeting to ensure peace and stability after the referendum. But we have a very big challenges, and I want to narrate them to you. Issue of citizenship. This is a big issue because in Northern Sudan we have about, could be 1.5 to 2 million people. What is going to happen to these people? These are the people who got displaced as a result of war. If the people of Southern Sudan take a decision to secede, what is going to happen to them? What about the Northern Sudanese who are in Southern Sudan? What is going to happen to them? As we talk, there's a very serious discussion in Sudan. Some views from the North, or even from the National Congress Party, they say the moment the people of Southern Sudan decide to secede, these people should pack and go back to Southern Sudan. Some even went further, even they cannot have even an injection or medicine. There are some voices also in the South saying, the moment we get our independence, you Northern Sudanese, you are actually the reasons. We don't want you even to stay in this house. This is a big discussion. We are talking about not less than 2 million people. And as I mentioned earlier, the mobilization of the unity is that if the people of Southern Sudan decide to secede, they will be seen to be the one actually deciding this, and they become victims. We have putting forward in the negotiation of the post-referendum that let us give the option to choose. These are international practices. For the people of Southern Sudan who are in Northern Sudan, if the people of Southern Sudan decide to secede, then Southern Sudanese who are in Northern Sudan should be given the chance to choose within a period of time. Do you want to be a Northern Sudanese or do you want to be a Southern Sudanese? And if they decide to be a Northern Sudanese, they should be given that nationality. And even for the Sudanese, the Northern Sudanese who are in the South, they should be given that chance whether they would like to be Southerners or they would like to be Northerners for a specific period of time. But even we are proposing the following also. Even if a Southern Sudanese in Northern Sudan decided to become a Southern Sudanese, they should enjoy some basic rights, these freedoms. And this is what we have been having with Egypt. A freedom to own, a freedom to work, a freedom to move, a freedom to reside. Because by doing so, you will be solving a lot of problems. Imagine an old woman in Khartoum. He came because of a result of war. He is not able even to go back to this house. And she managed to build something small for herself. Should we victimize her? Or if we have a Northern Sudanese who actually invested heavily in the South, helping the government of Southern Sudan in order to address the concern of the people of South, should we victimize that person? Not only this, we have a lot of complications. When we were fighting the war, we were having people from Nuba Mountain, from Blue Nile, from even far Northern Sudan, in the SPLM. They fought the war. And especially the Nuba Mountain, and some of them that are in the SPLA, Sudan People Liberation Army, which is the national army in the South. Should we say because of the decision of the people of Southern Sudan that you should pack and go to the North? Or should we give them the option to choose? But even in the National Congress Party, there are people who are Southern Sudanese, Muslims, and they participated in protecting the Islamic movement. Is it because of the decision of the South that you say, because of that, you go back to the South, or you should give them the chance to choose? This is a very big debate that is happening in Sudan. And I think the two parties have the responsibility to save lives and protect the properties of the people. Because it is most likely that the choice of the people of Southern Sudan may result in a certain level of violence. and that level of violence, and especially for the international community, how to protect and minimize the innocent lives that are going to be lost. It is true the National Congress Party are saying what we could do, we should look for a statelessness to avoid that one by having a legislation ready so that people are protected. But anyhow, this is a big debate, but I want you to give you that the referendum may result in a level of violence because of this issue of citizenship. Oil. Oil is a big issue. If the Southern Sudan secedes, it would be a big shock to the Northern Sudanese economy. And what we are saying, whether this oil could become an incentive for the parties to work together, the two parts to build even relationship around the oil. The fact of the matter is that all the facilities, whether the pipeline passing through the north, or even the refineries are in the north. Although it was a bad intended policy, but it's becoming also quite helpful now to rely on those facilities to link the north and the south. But at the same time, it is practical that, I mean, even for the south, it will be difficult for them to look for other options in the short term. And that's why the dependence on the north will be quite imminent. It's unavoidable. But there is no doubt also that voices in the south, that they believe that the moment we decide to secede, that's it. That we cannot have any other relation with the north. And these voices were telling them, actually, you are killing yourself. Because you are depending entirely on the oil. About 95% of the revenue of the Southern Sudan is depending on the oil revenue. And for you to adjust, it will take some time. You are better off investing in this infrastructure in the Northern Sudan. But even Northern Sudan are saying, look, we can even benefit from, we can even stop and we can maintain our economic stability. That also is not realistic, because the whole of the northern economy is actually suffering from Dutch disease. I mean, Dutch disease, it's very clear now, shifting away from the real economy because of this soft revenue. So oil could be becoming a very important element, and I am happy that your country, you have a very good experts here who are actually helping us not only in building an agreement between the North and the South around oil, but even in the long run, how the South could manage this oil in an effective way that could really inject a real new life to the economy. Water. Water is another issue. By the way, basic information is that Southern Sudan, 45% of the Nile Basin is in Southern Sudan. Almost about 98% of Southern Sudan is in Nile Basin. To Egypt, the water that's going to Egypt, not less than 95% coming from Southern Sudan. So it's so that is exactly the Nile Basin, Southern Sudan. There are many concerns. We know the Sudan government, the Court of Sudan is about 18,000 cubic meters, billion cubic meters, of which I think 60% have been utilized. If you have this new nation emerging, it could disrupt the politics between the members of the Nile Basin Initiative with Egypt and Sudan. Is a big issue. For us, it is critical, and this is what the argument that we are making. It is true the South is supposed to utilize this water. But at the same time, it is not our interest to disrupt the water agreement. In fact, Egypt has shown over time how they were so committed to the development in the South. But even if you look for investment of Egypt in the generation, the Southern Sudanese, you get all the leadership of the South today are coming from, these are the people who attended education in Egypt. Water should become an incentive for us to neutralize. We know Egypt could have an interest of having a united Sudan. And I will listen tomorrow for some of the discussion around the Egypt element in the whole of the referendum and the Egypt interest. Because Egypt is an element because it's so essential to the whole issue of referendum. It depends how Egyptians, and they have consistently been showing this one, that they are going to support the choice of the people of Southern Sudan. For us, it's very reassuring. And in the same way, I think that Southern Sudan should not be talking about how much to adjust the agreement, but how much Egyptian government should help us so that the South should get even a lion's share from the 18 billion cubic meters. I mean, these are politics. We are not talking about, your quota is not about business now. Our business is the share of the Sudan, that the South should have to have more utilization of this water. But definitely it's going to be an issue. And that's why the role of Egypt will be very important. It is important also for Egypt if they could send those genuine signals to the people of Southern Sudan that they will respect the choice of the people of Southern Sudan for the South. That's a very fundamental diplomatic achievement. And they have been doing that one. And so it may not create a problem for some times. Debt. Sudan is now having about 39 billion US dollars as a debt. Imagine if the South goes, but before that one, even for the oil, we have been talking with in Addis, we said we need to have a soft landing for the Sudan. If Sudan is going to lose almost about not less than 60 to 70% of its revenue, Southern Sudan could be ready not only using the facility in the north, but even giving assistance to the north. It could be a debt, it could be loans, but with a soft loans, or it could be a certain arrangement. Our commitment to Darfur, to Nuba Mountain, to Blue Nile, and to Eastern Sudan. So we have to have a real assistance that we should be rendering to the north so that you could have a real soft landing in terms of such a shock. But anyhow, still these are early discussion about how we are open to discuss with the youth. For the debt, you have about 39 billion US dollar. Imagine the debt together coupled with the loss that you are going to have from the oil. I think the people of North are going to face a big challenge. And that's why we are asking the international community to seriously consider this issue of debt relief. But even the SPLM, together with the National Congress Party, to work together in order to ask for this debt relief. It's an issue, and I hope I will be discussing also with the people here about what we can do about the issue of debt. Otherwise, you'll be hurting the referendum could result in a real economic crisis in Northern Sudan. Currency. We have an issue of currency, a possibility that we can use it. As Andrea is here, he helped us last time. Where is? Yeah, he helped us. That's the gentleman who really helped us in having our new currency. We're having dinar, we're having so many currencies in the south. But we managed to come with a new Sudanese pound. Now, the challenge now, whether to have that Sudanese pound or we look for another, there's a very serious feeling from the south that to have their own currency. And if that one happens, that is going to create a big issue for the Northern Sudanese economy, because they're depending the foreign currencies is coming from the oil. And if the South is going to have its own currency, that is it. They are not going to have the access to the foreign reserve. But what we are saying is that there's a need for an interim period whereby you can have one currency between the North and the South, while the South will be adjusting. We are looking for options. Should we use a traditional central bank, or should we look for the currency board that to allow you to be flexible? So a currency could be an incentive for a certain period of time that would allow the economy of the North to adjust while the South will be building its capacity. So it's a big debate about the security arrangements. And this is in relation to Darfur. If the South secedes, it is possible that Southern Sudan could become a stronghold for the destabilization of the North. Or Northern Sudan will become a factor in destabilizing the South, especially in terms of the militias. An early agreement between the North and the South, even having a defense pact that will ease that tension, will help in managing the border between the North and the South. And I think it's a big debate, what can we do before the referendum? Now, before I conclude, let me say what is the most likely outcome of the referendum. There's a big debate about that one. Our own reading, and personally, I conducted a survey in Southern Sudan in 2006. I was by then in charge of New Sudan Center for Census and Statistics. I conducted for about 6,000 households. And I was looking for some economic indicators. But I asked a question by then. Where would you vote? Would you vote for unity or separation? For these 6,000 households, almost not less than 90%, 95% said they will vote for separation. Then we asked them, what are the reasons that will lead you to vote for separation? They narrated, and we said, and we asked the question, if all these issues are addressed and you are asked to vote again, where would you vote? Almost the same. Not less than 95%. A clear case of that the people are going to vote for separation. We conducted some work also with NDI, National Democratic Institute. This is what is called focus group discussion. And we have been doing it every 6 months, asking similar questions. The voice of separation is even getting stronger and stronger. So it is a clear case that the South is going to separate. The fundamental question, and it seems as if there are a lot of discussion about, should the South be a viable state or not? I usually say, some of you who witnessed and saw the Southern Sudan from 2005, and now you could clearly see how powerful is these people in trying to change. A remarkable change is happening in the South. I think Southern Sudan, ingredients for a state, they have a clear vision. The new Sudan agenda is going to guide them. Secondly, they have resources. I talk about the water, about the oil, about minerals. What do they lack? What are they lacking? They are lacking capacity. And this is where we are focusing, how can we build the capacity of the people of Southern Sudan? Because if we focus on the capacity, I believe Southern Sudan in 10 years' time is going to be a center of economic growth in the region. And that's my conviction. There could be some problems. But you cannot judge Southern Sudan based on the indicators that you have today to say it's going to be a failed state. What's going to happen to the Northern Sudan? That is a big challenge. I'm even very concerned about Northern Sudan than Southern Sudan, by the way. Because what is happening in Northern Sudan, you have a very fundamental question about the political ideology in the North. Even the Islamic movement is now divided about what type of Islam we want to implement. And there's a big debate within the intelligentsia, within the elites in the North. Leave alone the shock that are going to happen in terms of the South going, but even the Darfur issue is not resolved. I'm more concerned about the Northern Sudan than Southern Sudan. In conclusion, I think my plea to all of you, and especially for this country, even after the election, there's a need to engage actively with the parties. I know some of you, sometimes you'll be painting National Congress Party, be a party, whatever color you give them. But the fact of the matter, this is the party in Northern Sudan that can only help in managing this referendum to be peaceful or not peaceful. And this is very central. There's no other force in the Sudan. It is the NCP. Sometimes we have different views about even the president, but his commitment to respect the referendum and the choice of the people of Southern Sudan should give us an incentive of how best we can work with him so that he can tomorrow to let Sudan not to go back to the war. And I think this is very fundamental. Especially Norway has been quite balanced in terms of engagement with the Sudan government. Sometimes we can label, we can classify, but it is one thing pushing a leader against the wall, and another thing for you to talk to that leader in order to bring peace and stability. It's a paradox, I know. It is very important to engage with the NCP. Another issue is I think it is very important for the international community to assist the parties to work together, especially the NCP and SPLM to work together. Sometimes there's some engagement in order to divide us, and we know it is the Sudanese solution that's going to prevail. Helping us to work together to find a solution is quite critical. I would like you also to have a campaign for the debt relief for Sudan. I know because it is for the stability. Personally, although I'm from the South, I don't want to see a failing economy in Northern Sudan. That is going to be a burden tomorrow to the South. And by helping the economy of the North, you are actually helping the peace and stability in Sudan. And my last point is about the capacity of government of Southern Sudan. I have every confidence that South is going to emerge, if people are going to decide for secession, a country that's going to be a real ally in terms of the values. And building that capacity of the South, that is the only way you can manage the choice of the people of Southern Sudan, so that the people of Southern Sudan should not regret that they voted for the separation. And it is by building the capacity of the South that will help to manage the choice of the people of Southern Sudan for a better Southern Sudan. I want to stop here and thank you very much.